Hey there, how's it going? It's me, Krystal V, and I am back with another video. This video, we're going to talk about the nines, and the nines of the tarot are the completion of a cycle. So usually numerology goes from 0 to 9, and yes, there are 10s in the tarot, but the 10 is at the point of the end and the next beginning. So let's talk about the major arcana, which is the number 9, and that is the Hermit card. So it's really interesting actually to see the Roman numeral for 5 and then the 4 little notches after. The way that 9 is progressively written, because the tarot in certain aspects is progressive or should be progressive. Meanwhile, in the Smith weight, you have the 10 minus 1. So it's almost like a regressive format. And then there's the progressive in the Tarot de Marseille. And that's one of the reasons why I choose to use the Marseille, because life should be a progression, at least in my opinion. So, or at least the learning periods should always be a progression. But also this is just some symbolic. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you use this deck, you're regressing or anything, like that. I just wanted to point out those two different points. So let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about the Hermit. So when you think about the Hermit, you think, maybe some detachment, you think about solitary aspects, but you also think about wisdom and the wisdom of a counselor or somebody who's older and more experienced than you. So that's the typical format or the imagery for the Hermit. But there's also that mastery that comes with the Hermit, the inner illumination. And there's all of this imagery about the illumination of the lantern here, and that's that inner illumination of following one's own joy or light, to open up the paths ahead of you. This is being honest with yourself, and also, coming to terms with some barriers, seeing them for what they are, and then moving on, choosing how to get over certain barriers or challenges. And the nines are a lot about challenges or reaching the top or a precipice of that challenge and overcoming it. A lot of that is very much linked up with self-awareness. So the nines are full of challenges, essentially, because it is the completion, the synthesis of something, the certainty, and the realization of truth. So there's quite a deal of self-awareness to actually go through all of those realizations and realize what you've learned from some challenges by using that inner wisdom of the Hermit. So there's also like a format of integration as well. So integration being mind, body, spirit, and how to integrate the three in order to complete a cycle or to come face to face with a challenge and overcome it or learn from it. The nines are also about achievement and can also indicate sacrifice at some times, or a surrender to the process or a cycle. But a lot of this is like inner realization and inner realization and challenge, I would say, synthesis. And it's really interesting that the nines are usually a female symbology, but the Hermit is usually depicted as an older man because of the relation with Saturn. There's a vibration with that number that is definitely feminine, but there is that visual representation of wisdom that does indicate this old hermit that's been doing a lot of inner work and a lot of self-realization. This could also indicate therapy, self-help, counseling, or using the tarot as a system for self-discovery as well. So let's get on to the minor arcana, because we did cover the themes of the Hermit and some of the nines. I wanted to start with the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords, talk about stressed out. You can see this person sitting up in bed and just stressing out, sleeplessness, worry. How am I going to face this challenge? You know, how am I going to overcome this problems? This could also indicate, because the sword is a symbol of the mind, since there is a little fracture in there, some sort of mental strife or mental illness as well. This could just also indicate using the powers of your mind to find a way out of this challenge. It could also deal with mental exhaustion as well. So the Nine of Swords is definitely, in my opinion, one of the hardest challenges to overcome in the tarot, as far as I'm concerned. Whenever I choose this card, or whenever this card chooses me, I know that, yes, I am going through a great deal of anxiety and worry about something. Will it be over soon? Most definitely. So this could mean an end to your worries, or the beginning to the end of your worries, because you are grieving about a certain loss or grieving about a situation. This could also indicate the fact that there has been some sacrifice and some surrender. So it's just at this point natural for you to surrender to the process and the cycle, so it can end and so a new one can begin. So those are the swords, air, yang energy. We discuss this in every video. If you haven't seen my other videos in relation to the numerology of the tarot and the different numbers, please go ahead and check out my channel. I'll put the link in the box below. Next, we have the Eight of Wands here. And then we also have the, did I say 8? 8 was last week. I'm talking about the 9s this week. So here we have the 9 of Wands. And this figure looks pretty exhausted. And, you know, they've built up this sort of fence or gate, or even the beginning of a house. It almost looks like they've completed a day's work or a project, and you know, they're leaning on the other wand just so they can, you know, come to and get their balance. So it's interesting to see this too, because the nine of Wands indicates you know, the finish of a job, the end of a project, the end of a creative project. Could also indicate the end of a very, very busy cycle. Could also indicate, you know, the fact that you know, you're about to be recognized for your efforts because of all of your hard work. And this could mean an end to an overwhelming schedule, or the end of an overwhelming job. But whatever it is, you did put all of your passion and all of your interest into it, so you will be rewarded for your efforts. The Nine of Wands is a very dynamic, fast-paced card. It deals with the element of fire, and it just signifies a job well done. So when you do pull the Nine of Wands and you see it in a positive light, it does indicate getting some sort of recognition for your hard work. If you read it negatively, sometimes it could just be that you need to slow down, that you are overwhelmed, and that you are working yourself to the bone. So again, fire energy, yang, projecting energy, that masculine energy. Next up, we have the Nine of Cups. And it, you know, this guy looks pretty comfortable, right? The Nine of Cups is all about emotional comfort, happiness, joy, the end of a joyous cycle, a celebration. But it could also indicate the fact that you might be a little bit too comfortable and you might be indulging a little bit too much. So it's good to take a look at those aspects as well. A lot of people consider this a wish card, if you will. So if you do draw this card, it is the perfect time to manifest some of the things you've been wanting to manifest. I really love the Nine of Cups. It just means all is well. It's very much the same vibration as the Star card, which I plan to cover in the future. So when you draw the Nine of Cups, everything's good. Just watch your consumption and just revel in this comfort. Life isn't always this comfortable. So good job, good work in completing an emotional cycle. This could also mean a time of emotional joy after a long period of emotional healing and searching inward to really find your own personal source of joy. So again, water, that receptive energy, that feminine energy, that yin energy of the Nine of Cups. Last but not least, we're going to talk about those pentacles. This is the Nine of Pentacles, and the Nine of Pentacles is financial payback for a job well done. This is after building something from the bottom up, you're able to sit pretty and actually experience and cultivate a lot of the financial wealth that you've produced. This could also indicate the end of like a housing period or a job as well, where the end of a financial cycle where you come out on top. This could also mean abundant health. So if you've changed up your health plan and you draw the Nine of Pentacles, you're definitely on the right path to good health and happiness. This is just such a lovely card. You can see this garden here and the bird that this figure has on their finger. And they're just sort of walking leisurely through their garden of pentacles that they worked so hard for. So the end of a financial cycle, well done. And also, the abundance and joy of living a healthy life as well, and reaping the benefits and the comforts of that too. So a cycle of earthly pleasures, since the pentacle indicates the earth. Yeah, it's also yin energy, that feminine energy, that receptive energy. So if you draw the Nine of Pentacles, which I also love to draw the Nine of Pentacles, it just means that everything is going to be okay financially and health-wise. If you see it in a more negative light, you might actually have some sort of an exchange for large sums of money, or there might actually be a little bit of a delay as far as some of your financial cycles go, or you might be having a little bit of a struggle or an uphill battle with some of your health issues. But I always like to see things in a positive light, so abundance and joy. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me if you've been checking out my videos every week. I know the way that I release videos is a little bit sporadic, and I've been watching some videos on how to get a good organized schedule down for them. So hopefully you'll be able to expect me a little bit more. But until then, I'm just working on getting this numerology series out. So thank you for being so patient with me, and join me next time for the 10s, where everything changes. All right, take care, y'all.